welcome to The Bridge Views. My name is Ashley Kougher, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Amber. She is the owner of Gail's Futuristic Fire. She is a Spelman and Georgia Tech graduate. What makes her stand out isn't just the guns, it's the intention, the scholarship, and the spiritual journey that led her to a calling most women are afraid to even speak about. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello. I feel like you have so much that you do. So I wanted to get started with Gail's Futuristic Fire. What made you start that?
Honestly, it started with me realizing the glass ceiling that exists for women, especially Black women in the gun industry, while working in the space. And I noticed that it would take me a lot longer to take a traditional path of climbing the ladder within a structure that was not built with me in mind. So I decided to build my own. After leaving the range from my first job, and the clients that I met there actually finding me online and encouraging me to start a business, but also make more content detailed towards the work that I was doing at the range.
So what got you involved with firearms in the first place? I feel like some people are afraid. It's like, it's either you're super pro-gun or you're kind of in the middle or you're just like, not at all.
So my daddy taught me as a kid, so I've never had a negative experience with firearms or towards firearms. But while I was in grad school, I did own a firearm. I lived alone. It was something that I knew that I was going to purchase for myself as a birthday gift. And I took the opportunity to go to a range one day. It's not like I was seeking the career path. It sort of found me.
Okay, and what was your first gun that you owned?
I believe, I don't remember the first BB, but I know the first gun that I purchased was a Springfield XC9.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did your dad help you, like, did he cultivate this or was it just like safety and shooting, knowing how to protect yourself? Like, what was that like?
It was strictly him trying to teach me how to shoot in the backyard. He gave me a BB as a gift, a BB gun, excuse me, and I learned how to shoot in my backyard and I didn't miss.
Okay.
So it was something that I started to do after school.
And then from BB guns, you kind of just went from there?
Well, there is a big timeline between me learning as a child and also picking it up as an adult.
Okay, so when you picked it up again as an adult, what did that look like?
That looked like me literally purchasing my first firearm, going into a range. Well, I actually purchased it offline and I went to a range to pick it up through my background check. And it wasn't the most pleasant experience.
No? What happened?
I went into the range. They didn't acknowledge me at first because it seemed like I guess they thought I was lost. But I walked in and I walked up to the counter and I let them know that I had made a purchase and I wanted to pick it up. And they initially were asking me questions like the type of firearm that I purchased, and I knew that was not standard.
Okay.
And
how'd you know it wasn't the standard?
I looked it up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I knew that they were inquiring about me before I had even filled out the 4473, which is the form for background checks.
Okay.
So I could tell that the person who was going to go through with that transaction was sort of profiling me. I could not tell you whether or not if my presentation would have been worth profiling. But yeah, those are some experiences I witnessed in my first firearms purchase, and then being on the flip side, I experienced working with others who do background checks.
How old were you when you purchased, like when this experience happened, how old were you?
I was 22.
Okay. I've never purchased a gun online, but I have done it in person. And it's like you walk in, you fill out a form, they do a background check. It might take like an hour or two. You can stay and browse around. And then it's normally approved. And then you're able to buy your gun, buy your ammo, and then go.
Right.
That was not your experience?
I bought it off an online site.
Okay. So how does that work?
So you can use an online retailer. You enter that information. It's like buying some clothes.
Okay.
But the address isn't your home. It's the nearest federal firearms licensee to your house or your favorite gun range or favorite gun store.
So technically they shouldn't have asked you any questions because all of that would have been done online for them to send the gun, right?
No, the background check doesn't happen until you go to the range. So the same experience that you have when you go into the range just to purchase one is the same experience I would have if I purchased the firearm from an online retailer because they have to do the same due diligence.
But they let you, this is where I find like a little disconnect. Okay. So they let you buy it, ship it to the store, but then what if you don't pass the background check?
Then it is returned.
Got it. Okay.
Usually there's different fees that are added on to if like you get denied for whatever reason,
Got
or if you're delayed. More than likely, the fees that you've already paid, there is a transfer fee, but there's also a fee for the firearm itself, especially if you're not buying it from the same entity.
Okay.
And when you get it to the range, they charge you a fee just for the paperwork. So whether you get a decision of proceed, deny, or delay, that fee is not something that is refundable usually.
It always seems like such an easy process to get a gun in the US. Like you can buy a gun from Walmart if you want to. I know you've traveled a lot and you've been to a lot of different countries. What do you think about our laws here?
Well, I think that's a twofold question, because if you ask me about the laws, you'd have to ask me about the culture.
Okay.
The laws uphold a structure within our society that reminds us daily that we should not depend on the government to provide all of our protections, and we should have things in store and in place for us to protect ourselves and the ones that we love.
Do you feel like everyone should own a firearm?
Absolutely.
What do you feel like? So our gun laws are very laxed, and I think you have to be 21 to purchase a gun. Is that correct?
Really 18 for a long rifle and
Okay.
21 for a handgun.
Okay, so you can buy it as young as 18 and as old as 21, and then it's kind of lax. Like as long as you don't have a felony, for the most part, you're able to purchase a gun, correct?
I wouldn't call it lax. I would say that the background checks are as thorough that the NICS system has allowed it to be. And it has gotten stricter over the years as far as what is included in those background checks and what is assessed. I will say that the ATF is not funded enough to ensure that people who are being misleading in their answers on a 4473 background check, that they struggle with even catching those type of red flags.
But to your point, if they're just profiling certain people, would they catch them anyways?
Not necessarily.
Because the average school shooter doesn't look like you or me.
No, absolutely.
So if they're not asking those questions, it's not really...
Well, when you think about the average school shooter, they're usually someone that's getting that or acquiring that firearm from a parent or someone that also lives in the home who has instilled that belief for their choice to harm children or others in public places. So, like I said, the laws also are, that law question is really one that can be a double-edged sword when you answer it, when you're considering culture.
So what are you thinking of when you think of culture? What do you mean?
Because I think of firearms?
Yeah, because I feel like depending on where you grow up or who you're around, you could easily fall into the, oh, Black people just carry guns. But then when I think about white people I grew up with, they hunt, they grow up just shooting things in the backyard, similar to what you were saying. So it's like, I think it just depends on the media. What are you referencing when you say the culture? When
I say the culture, I'm more so focused on the context. So we're talking about school shootings. We can talk about laws, and I can tell you that I do not agree that firearms should be used to harm children for any reason. But I could also give you on the flip side that I believe that all children should have access to gun safety education and should be trained to learn how to protect not only themselves, but their family members if firearms are accessible in the home. But those two things require education over legislation.
Right. And who would that fall to educate? Parents or, because I know, I'm not sure how the process is here, but like in Florida, when I got my concealed, it was very easy. Mm-hmm. Like you barely had to shoot an exact target. You just had to be in the general area. So what do you think that education looks like?
Education definitely looks like ensuring that qualifiers are in place for concealed carry permits. But, you know, when we think about reciprocity of laws in different states, every state doesn't have the same allowances of what you can do with a firearm or even owning one. So I think to better answer your question, I believe that maybe you should repeat it so I don't go too much on a tangent.
No, you're fine. I kind of like where you're going, so keep going.
No, answer it again though so I can keep going.
I was asking, what did you think culture, rise, and education? Like, where's the education lacking? Who does that fall on? Should it be like state mandated where it's like, okay, similar to the education system, once you're 12, how we used to have home ec, you're going to have a firearms and safety class and you're going to learn every part of the gun. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying like state to state, it's up to the state if they feel like it's a necessity? Because New York wouldn't need that.
Well, that arguably New York would, being that
but it's illegal to own.
It is illegal to own doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right, but I would think if you're in a state and you're teaching children how to deal with a firearm, that they would assume that they're allowed to deal with a firearm because they're learning it in school. So if it's something that doesn't exist, like in Canada, they wouldn't teach a firearms class.
Or, there are classes, though.
There are, but I mean in school.
Well, and what I am more so just letting you know is that I believe that everyone should have access to proper education to respect and handle firearms in all platforms safely.
Okay.
And I believe that should be something that is done across the board, because regardless of what the state that you live in's requirements or laws are, people break rules every day. And there are states that, like, there's someone in a state that does not allow firearms that has one.
Oh, for sure.
So education should, and the responsibility of education should fall, of course, on the state, but at home, the family unit is the original state.
So we always hear about stricter gun laws. Do you think we need stricter gun laws, or we need better laws in place to protect people? Like, do you think it needs to be strict like Canada, like nobody's getting a gun? Or do you think it just needs to be tightened up around the education, like you're saying?
It's a double-edged sword with that question, I have to be honest with you, because if stricter gun laws does not change the fact that guns are in people's homes. Even if Georgia decided today that they wanted everyone to turn in their firearms, there will be many people who don't look like you and I, and some who do, who won't.
Right.
And there is no process or database in place that would even be able to track down every single firearm down to its address. So while I could advocate for safer spaces for others to educate themselves and advocate for educational spaces to be funded, I can't in good faith also advocate for firearms to be taken away because of that knowledge, because of where we are. It would be more so you asking me in a perfect world.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think, what would real change look like without disempowering people and without taking away their rights?
I don't have that answer. I'm proud not to have it because I'm a big advocate of people just knowing how to protect themselves.
Do you think that we focus too much on restricting the guns and not necessarily the how did they get them or the education?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a focus on legislation over education that more so impacts those who are in marginalized groups and communities where they don't get the resources that they need to be educated, and then they become institutionalized because of what they don't know. So yes, I do believe that education should be more prioritized.
And is that like one of your main focuses with your business?
Absolutely.
So what are your pillars, or what are your main focuses?
So Gail's Futuristic Fire's mission is to protect the present, to preserve the future. And it adopts a Sankofa mindset where every woman that I come in touch with, when I have the opportunity to empower her through firearm safety education, I empower an entire community. So she's going to take that information back to a sister, a friend, a loved one, a neighbor, and it's going to multiply. And women, being that we are able to retain education, but also birth literal children. When I give a woman who is able to educate her children the gift of gun safety education, she automatically gives it to her child. So it's more so a focus on being able to protect future legacies.
Do you feel like women learn faster than men? I think every time I go to the gun range, they're always like, women are the easiest to teach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see a lot of Black women at the gun range?
Do I see them a lot at the gun range? No. Do they go to the gun range? Yes.
Are you trying to change that? Like who are you targeting within your business? All women? Like who?
My target audience is primarily Black women.
Okay.
But all women, so I serve them. And I also serve folks who identify as non-binary as well.
I feel like more white women are taught to shoot than Black women. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was wondering, like, on that, do you see, like, when you guys go to the gun range, what is that like? Are you guys just an all women's group? Are there side eyes? Is like, what are they doing here? Because I feel like when I go, they get excited and they're like, do you need help? Like, I feel like they're excited to see women, like, picking it up and trying.
I would say across the board is definitely a excitement of women being interested in ranges because there's a lot of funding available for ranges to bring women into their ranges because women are the largest growing demographic of gun owners in America and Black women are the largest growing minority group of gun owners in America. So it is definitely a large profit margin where ranges could employ instructors and implement programming that attracts us to the space where we know we usually wouldn't go.
That makes sense. I feel like when I go to buy a new gun, they always try to give me like these little pea shooters, like the smallest gun they can find. Mm-hmm. And the recoil kills my wrist.
Yes.
Like it hurts so bad. I'm like, I can't. And then when I like try to point something else out, they're like, no. Like you need this pink little gun right here. Do you have a gun that you would suggest for women just starting out or anyone just starting out, like a good first gun to have or to try?
Well, I'm going to comment on the first thing.
Okay.
Just because somebody works at a gun store or a gun range, that does not make them an expert.
Okay. So they don't have to be qualified or like know how to shoot or anything. It's kind of just like a sales associate. They're just there.
I quite literally got a job because I could shoot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, like I knew how to load and unload a firearm and I was confident. But I have no military background. I have no law enforcement background. I have no allegiances to either of those. So... And the average person that works at a gun range is someone who has those type of backgrounds and or it's just like a gig for them. And a lot is learned on the job. So unless you're retired and you decide to take that type of field, a lot of folks who are entering that space, they have a lot of inventory that is insured and it's not selling. And they often prey on people who come into the space are women, folks who look like they've never been there before, folks who obviously have never handled a firearm before just because of how they're manipulated in the space. And they take advantage of that to sell you what's not selling.
Okay.
Yes. So as far as my favorite gun, I suggest I am a Georgia girl. So a Glock 43X.
Okay.
It is a compact firearm. You can experience some recoil from it, but recoil is something that you're going to experience regardless. And my second favorite would be a Sig P365 XL.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And do you carry them with you or are they like, can they fit in your purse or that's just like a home gun?
Yeah, both I could actually carry with this outfit if I wanted to.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And don't you have concealed like clothing or you do stuff like that as well, right?
I am a bit of a fashionista when it comes to concealed carry clothing.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have your own stuff or do you have a favorite brand or?
I have adjusted my own clothing for myself. My mom and I have tinkered with a few designs that are more so catered to my body type. Okay. Because I saw a gap in the sizes in the fashion industry for concealed carry clothing. So leggings, pants, hoodies, they all look generally like cops who are off work.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't. It looks like
it's not a dress up your outfit or just hide.
No, like, it's not really. You've seen my concealed carry leggings. Mm-hmm. It's not that impressive, but they're quality.
Right.
You can dress them up if you wanted to, but it's not the what's offered now on the concealed carry clothing market does not represent the colorful world that we live in.
What do you think is the best way or area for a woman to conceal a gun other than just throwing it in your purse?
Appendix. Appendix would be considered right here because women always have a little extra space here.
Okay.
So no matter your size, you should be able to conceal carry with a little bit of a larger top or larger pants.
Okay. Now, there's a stereotype that Black women with firearms, Black women in general are always labeled as aggressive or strong or, oh my gosh, you're so aggressive. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like the truth is behind that narrative with Black women when it comes to guns in the gun range?
Black women are angry.
Okay.
Black women are angry. But we're not angry enough to do what folks who commit mass shootings.
So before you get dragged, let's clear it up. What do you mean by the statement, Black women are angry?
Black women are angry. I mean, we spent years raising other people's children. We spent years getting raped to fund plantations, and entire lineages have built wealth off of the backs of the labor and the literal tit of Black women. So while you and I might not be angry for the same reason our great-great-grandmothers were angry, we carry their DNA.
So angry and fed up, just over it.
Yes. So when we go onto the range, we oftentimes experience those little explosion in our hands that matches the explosion that happens in our heart whenever we're being hurt by others. So, yes, I believe that Black women should be angry and should get armed and protect what they have.
So do you think that they're treated differently at the gun ranges because they are labeled as the angry Black woman or the aggressive Black woman? So it's like, what is she going to do?
I wouldn't say that people go into the ranges or see Black women at ranges and think that they are there to let out rage. I don't think most employees who work at ranges think much about folks who come in as long as they are making money.
Okay.
That's the best way I'm gonna say that.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women in general feel very unprotected when it comes to just safety in general. Why do you think self-protection conversations make people so uneasy, especially when it comes to women owning guns? I feel like it's always a free-for-all, like, you're in America, this is your right, it's your right to own a firearm. But then when people find out like a woman owns a firearm, it's like, well, why do you need that? Why do you think it's such like a different conversation when it comes to women protecting themselves?
Well, being that we live in a patriarchal society, women owning firearms also means that they have to identify the threat. And oftentimes the threat is people in power. 9 times out of 10 may or may not be a man they are in relationship with or in partnership in closeness. And women owning a firearm puts whatever harm they may be experiencing from that person at a stop. Usually it can be used against them, but yes, I think that's a lot of the reason why folks can give a little pushback to women owning firearms.
What do you feel like when you're teaching women about firearms or firearm safety? What is the biggest pushback that you get? Like, are they scared to shoot? Are they scared to buy it? Are they scared to conceal it? Are they scared to load it? Like, what do you think is the biggest issue?
I think you just listed all of the issues, but the main one would be the sound. You know, when we think about the little explosions that happen in our hands, we can hear them. And oftentimes I don't know the trauma that my clients experience. So whether they're coming to take back their power because of a assault situation, or they're coming because they want to protect themselves for something they have not foreseen, it's the fear usually comes from the sound of it because that's all they know. If they've never actually touched one and shot one before. So
how do you help them with that healing? How do you help them overcome it? Because it is a loud, I mean, you feel it through your whole body. You feel it in your hands, it goes through your arms, you feel it in your ears, it goes down your neck. Like, it can be exhilarating, but to your point, if you have trauma, it can be very like a flashback as well. How do you help with that? Because now you're just not a teacher, you're also helping them on like a mental.
Yes. It's definitely something I've had to refine over the years, but breathwork has been very important. And I'm very intentional about giving my students 1 round at a time when they've obviously displayed that they are uncomfortable. And usually it's a level of anxiety that isn't stopping them from continuing the class, but it could put them in a position where they could be unsafe on the range, like pointing the firearm in the wrong direction or just being jumpy so much that they're not able to retain the information that they are learning. So I'm really careful about when I notice that people are too afraid to continue with the course of fire without being a danger to others, they can no longer participate in the class. Have I had that problem before? Once.
And how was it? Telling them, like, I need you to take a second.
They didn't have a problem with leaving. They left. They left and they sat outside the viewing window and watched.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
I feel like people rarely talk about healing and guns in the same sentence. How has your journey with healing and guns been?
It's definitely, I would not say I was the person that went to the range and I was shooting for therapy. I actually been in therapy. But as someone who is emotionally intelligent, I've been on the range and I've been in range safety officer positions where I seen people obviously going through something on the range. And those turned into moments of prayer for people visiting the range. And this is before I even started my own business. So the firing line in many ways has become an altar call for the folks who have come to the range that I've served at.
Okay. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about women who do enjoy shooting?
That we don't need no man.
How is a man and a gun equated? Like, how does that?
Well, there's a level of confidence and capability that you have to have in order to own a firearm. And oftentimes I come across men who don't know how to do what I know how to do with the platforms that I manipulate and have taken offense in a way that I can't control. And what I mean as they've responded as if they didn't feel capable enough. Like I've even had men like flex like they own firearms and they don't. And I'm just like, that doesn't matter to me. Like, can you fight?
Can you protect yourself somehow?
Can you run? It's not that serious to me. We can go to the range and learn anytime. But yeah, it's definitely been, I've been told before that it has been a pause because I also think that too, I might have been saved from something because men know when they are harmful.
Yeah.
And when they intend to inflict harm. And if they sense that you are capable of stopping them from doing so, they will leave you alone.
That's real. So. Do you think that society is afraid of women, especially Black women, who know how to protect themselves? To your point, like
Afraid
if I am
them?
someone, yeah.
It should be.
That's real.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you consider, like I said before, Black women should be angry, when we're dealing with mortality rates, about giving birth, our health not being taken seriously for any other crisis. When you think about women who are dealing with PCOS, I know there's women around here who have lost children or lost their ability to have children or to pursue different career fields because of people not listening to them who should be angry enough to respond and harm people. But a lot of Black women are holding that
taking it on the chin.
Anger in and channeling it in other ways, creative ways, starting businesses, building in their community. So, yeah.
What do you think is a myth that social media gets wrong when it comes to firearms and gun safety? I always feel like when I see a video of a young white girl whose dad's teaching her how to assemble and dismantle a gun blindfolded, all the comments are like, yes, this is great. She should know how to do this, woo, 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 woo. And then you can see a Black man doing the same thing with his daughter. And it's like, oh my gosh, she's so young. Why are you doing this? She's going to get herself hurt. She's going to hurt somebody else. What do you feel like is a myth people get wrong? Or do you think that it's just more Black versus white? Do you think it's more acceptable for one side than the other?
That's a tricky question because I've seen it too, the stark differences. And then I think that becomes a culture conversation. Mm-hmm. Hunting and gathering and shooting is inherently Black. It's tribal. A lot of people are not connected to their roots of understanding resistance in any means, whether it be with their voice, with their hands, or a weapon. So I don't really listen too much about that. So yeah.
Okay. When women walk into your class and come out more confident, what does that do to you internally? Like, how does that make you feel?
Aligned. Because you couldn't have told me 5-10 years ago, even though I started this 5 years ago, it was a seed. There have been many obstacles that should have stopped me before arguably the world knew that I was the gun lady. So.
What's one aha moment that you've had or you've had with a client throughout your experience teaching your classes?
I guess that sort of ties into that previous question of like feeling aligned. When women share with me very touching stories and admit that whatever affirmation or prayer or conversation we had on the range or just the energy exchange when they express that it changed their mindset about them being worth protecting, that sort of brings me, that helps me sleep at night. Because I did not want to go in this and just like, you get a gun, you get a gun, you get a gun. You know, there needed to be strategy. And
so are you licensing women to carry firearms?
No,
okay.
No.
Okay. I didn't, well, the you get a gun. That's why I was asking. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, what I mean by that is advocating for ownership without intention or strategy or a real clear message. I didn't want to just all willy-nilly just start making YouTube videos and there was no real purpose behind it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you do love to help. If there was one thing that you could teach women when it comes to like protecting themselves, what would it be?
How to pick the right living space
for your
safety. Picking the right apartment for your safety, whether it be on the 3rd floor, near the elevator, or with a gated community.
Why'd you say 3rd floor?
3rd floor, just a floor up higher than what somebody would want to go on some stairs to come after you, but not dealing with flooding or potential break-ins. I have an apartment that is, access from my car to the door, but I specifically chose it for a vantage viewpoint for myself, so it's actually been an idea of mine, help women find the right place to live based off of the different key points, like security, turnover for folks who work in the leasing office, whether the folks who live in the lease office live on the property, things like that could be green or red flags when you're getting your first space as someone living alone.
So we live in Atlanta. What are your 5 top red flags for the city for a woman living alone that you would give?
Parking decks that don't have lighting or convex mirrors, those big circular mirrors that show you who's around the corner.
Okay.
That's number 1. Paid parking.
Because then they have to register. So if something happens.
Well, yes, paid parking mainly because it is the bane of my existence. But usually folks use those parking lots to prey on folks, or they just hang around to find folks with digging in their purse for money.
Okay. And I would think paid would be good.
Yeah, but half the time,
but that makes sense.
Most people who man those parking lots, they're not armed.
Yeah.
You can give somebody $40, just watch my car.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 3
red flags in Atlanta. I
love
my city.
As a woman living alone, like if somebody were to move here and be a single woman, like what would be your be aware? The parking was really good.
Yeah.
If you don't have any more, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not that. Those are my real top 2.
I didn't know if there were any areas that you're like, don't come here at night. Don't go over there without a gun.
I go everywhere.
Don't live over here.
Oh, no. I think that also becomes anti-Black real quick.
You think?
It can. So I'm not saying that.
I didn't mean it in an anti-Black way. So like when I first moved to Atlanta, Buckhead, there was always a shooting. Like when I moved here in 2020, you could not pay me to move in Buckhead. Why am I paying $3,000 a month and possibly getting shot at? And then I got to pay for parking, and then my windows are getting busted out, and then. So I didn't know if you had any like that. Not necessarily like don't go to Cumberland or don't come to this area.
I got you. Okay, yeah, I was being careful because I cannot answer that.
Like I personally don't go shopping around the holidays to Lenox. But I also don't like in-person shopping around the holidays because, to your point, people prey on you. Yes. You have all your bags, you're single, you're walking, you're trying to put stuff in the trunk, leaving your door open, your purse. So I don't know if you had any like that.
I got you. Yeah. A lot of my red flags they revolve around inadequate parking, inadequate lighting in parking decks.
What do you have for, and this was an issue I had when I first moved to the city, you have to valet everywhere.
Yeah.
So when you do your concealed weapons, you can't take it in. You don't want to leave it in your car.
Yeah.
So what is your suggestion as a form of like protection, or what do you do? Do you keep it in your car and it's just locked somewhere, or?
I always recommend folks to invest in a biometric safe. A Valet safe, it can only be accessed with a master key,
or your thumb, right?
Your thumb or your fingerprint, and you can put it in the tire in your trunk in your car if you like.
Okay.
You can't control what people do when they valet, but that is their means of income.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, yes, you should not leave valuables in your car, but those valuables can't come with you in the club. Then you need to make a decision of if you're going to be drinking, smoking, any of that tonight, then you should probably leave it at home.
Right.
There are these fiberglass Sharpie markers that can be used for close encounters, for stabbing others. I do like edge and knife conversations, but I am not a big advocate of telling people to just go get a knife, because that's a different level of training.
I always see like the protection kits on like TikTok and Instagram where they have like the brass knuckles and then the thing to poke your windshield and whatever. Do you like those, or do you recommend those for your...
No, they're usually not the best quality. And then 9 times out of 10, you should get a concealed carry permit because they are weapons. So yeah, your best bet for your safety and an unnecessarily jail visit is pepper spray.
I thought it was illegal now.
Depends on where you are.
Okay, but it's legal in the state of Georgia? Mm-hmm. And do you have like a specific... I know when I lived in Florida, there was like a military store like right by campus, and everybody would go there and get their pepper spray.
I like Safely self-defense.
Safely,
Safely.
Okay.
They have a product that, from what I remember, there's a light, there's pepper spray, and there's a window breaker that comes at the bottom of it. I can't remember all the accessories. This is not paid or anything. Yeah. But yes, that's one particular product that's all inclusive that I've enjoyed. It's particularly for folks who run.
Okay.
And since I have a dog, I walk my dog, and they've sent me their product. And sometimes, depending on what you buy, you can get testers that you can refill with water. So you can practice drawing that pepper spray from your waistline or your pocket or your purse and pointing it at someone and spraying.
What do you think about the pepper spray that like changes them colors?
You like product where you spray it on them and it lights up like when you're stealing?
Yeah.
I think it's creative.
But you don't think it makes a difference?
If it doesn't stop the encounter, then it's definitely something that can convict someone of an attack or something like that if they got away. If you wanted to describe someone like, hey, I sprayed them with this and their clothes should be like this, but clothes can be easily disposed of. You know, when you're thinking about, there's a lot of variables. There isn't the perfect accessory for self-defense other than your own mind.
Okay. Do you think, or how has your education between Spelman and Georgia Tech helped with your leadership in firearms and like who you are today with entrepreneurship and teaching and everything?
Both educational experiences have informed how to navigate various groups, social groups, and professional spaces, and have informed how I conduct business, not only as an instructor, but as a leader in the firearms space. It's definitely put a little bit of a straightener in my back when I walk in the room, because I can spot another one of me. And it is a constant reminder that I was already that girl before I entered the space where I might not get my hand shaken by the CEO of a manufacturer company. Like, it doesn't kill my confidence because I'm still her.
So what does embodying your calling look like for you right now? Like, what's changing? What's evolving?
Right now, it's literally trusting that my almost 7-8 years of experience is enough to do what I've been called to do. Like, I could enroll in more classes, but I'm overqualified for what I'm currently doing in business. And I'm at a point where I am being called to step up and do more and go harder because I have the capacity to do so. And what's shifting is I'm shifting more so from catering to a lot of one-on-one folks and providing opportunities for groups to come in, whether it be folks who are a part of a sorority or friends or family, hiking clubs, whatever it may be, allows them to come together and learn the gift or receive the gift of gun safety of any platform from me. And it's helped me to expand my offerings to folks who have similar interests outside of firearms other than me only looking for people who are strictly looking for firearm safety for court appearances, or they just purchased their first firearm. I've been able to branch out and offer curriculum that also inspires teams to work together a little bit better.
Do you do a lot of corporate or one-off groups, or do you have more? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite? Like,
It's
what's
my
your favorite
favorite
group to work with?
I love working with corporate groups.
Yeah?
'Cause they pay well. And then everybody's just like, oh my God, my boss wants to go to the range with me. And it's appropriate, and it helps folks to see that firearms are accepted in most spaces. And it's a sport at the end of the day. It's not about harm. It's not about a lack of safety. It's a sport. And I can introduce it to people from that lens.
What entrepreneurial do you wish you would have started sooner within your journey in your business?
Sooner?
Or is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
I definitely wish I would have been a little bit more audacious in how I produce my marketing.
Okay.
I definitely think that early on I could have attracted a lot of nonsense, though, if I took it to that creative route. Like, you can take that blaxploitation style and take photos with firearms, and you can post it. But if people don't know that you can shoot or that you can educate others, you kind of just turn yourself into a caricature. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that I didn't do that, but I am about to start. So
you don't think that you could have been like the character that they fall in love with the character, and then it's like, oh yeah, and she can shoot and she teaches? Like, it doesn't necessarily just have to be like, I don't know where you were trying to go, but it doesn't necessarily just have to be like this sexy. It can be both.
Yes. Well, I think I realized that I really wanted to make sure I got the respect.
Okay. And do you feel like you have that now?
Yeah. And I don't think I realized I had it from the jump.
What are like all of your accolades or accomplishments so far within your industry?
I've been nominated twice by industry peers as the most influential female of the year at the Gundies. The Gundies is the gun industry version of the Grammys.
Okay.
And it is an opportunity for folks who are competitive shooters, Olympians, women, political advocates to be highlighted in the particular area. There's influencers on the list. And in many ways, I kind of check all those categories with how I show up in the world.
So you competitively shoot as well?
It is something that I have taken an interest in. I have gone to competitions, but it is not something that I'm actively doing consistently.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's fun. So
currently,
what are the other awards? Let's hear them all.
Let's see. I have been invited as a guest instructor for the National Women's Range Day for Gun Owners of America Empowered 2A. So that we served hundreds of women in Las Vegas earlier this year. I received an award to go to Orlando to train with another smaller group of folks who are advocates of gun ownership, who just happen to be also minorities and folks who are of other ethnic groups as well. But we were a small group of folks who received funding to go to Florida to train at a facility called WAFT, where our families train. And it's a high class training facility where you learn defensive vehicle tactics, close quarters tactics with batons, but also edge and knives as well. So I've done edge training. I've done firearms training.
And I'm sorry, what is edge training?
Knives.
Okay.
Knives.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Other people might know, but I did not.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. What else? I got my license to be a dealer when I was 25, 26.
That's really young.
Yeah.
That's really young. So you can sell guns as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I learned really quickly that I would much rather have a brick and mortar to do so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so what do you think like your main focus is right now, business-wise?
Right now, my main focus is to get as much funding as I can as an entity that focuses on educational programming. So
with the funding, what would you do?
Build a facility.
And then do what? Like, is it a training facility? Is it just a shooting facility? Is it selling?
A wellness facility, more so focused on. Most range spaces do not have any wellness activities involved in it unless it's like a add-on workshop. And I'd like it for it to be a space where it's like, if you wanted to go Pilates, you can come to Pilates. But if you want to go to a range class, you can go to a concealed carry dynamics class. So I want to, and also I'd like a restaurant to be included in it, because usually the biggest issue when we go to the range as ladies is there's no food and the restrooms aren't taken care of like we'd like them to be.
And then my arms, like depending on what I'm shooting, like there's a lot of fatigue. Yes. Like I did a combat training class last year and my arm, I had like the biggest bruise. Yeah. Like it's very taxing. Absolutely. My wrist was killing me. You need to add like a massage therapist. You need Absolutely. To have a chiropractor. Yes. Like you need to turn it into a whole thing. Yes. Because I feel like it would be better. I know, and state to state, it's so different. But Daytona had a gun facility where they had a bar inside, which I was like, this cannot be a good idea. But they would do like happy hour and ladies' night where you could get like 2 free drinks and shoot. And I'm like, this is crazy. And you can only patron the bar after you shot. There's a couple spaces all over the U.S. that do have the similar model, but it's less than 20. Right. So it's a very new idea, a new concept, but it can be done. And you would want to focus on food. Would you have drinks? I would have drinks. Okay. It's just not as easy to straight go into opening a business dealing with firearms and food and alcohol. And a wellness center. And wellness. Those are different types of permits. Yeah. So you start with what you can do. So what would be your start? You can do what you want to do. The start would genuinely just be land outdoor training. Okay. Because ranges take time to build. And outdoor spaces allow folks to be able to train while moving, but also they get an idea of what it looks like to defend themselves in a real scenario. So you would do combat training? Combat can, I would more so say tactical. Okay. Because combat sounds more so like hand-to-hand war. And we're more so talking about... Tactical reminds me of war too. Like if I hear tactical, I'm thinking like Navy SEALs, TAC team, like SWAT team coming out, bow. Like yeah, but less one-on-one and more developing your ability to manipulate the platforms that you have. That's breaking them down, that's cleaning them, that's shooting and moving, that's drawing from concealment. And I think that's what's missing. Yeah. Like drawing from concealment, because it sounds good to like, let's hide it somewhere. But then if you are in an instant where you need to pull, it is like, how can I quickly like get it out or dig in my purse and find it next to the lip gloss and the car keys? Like it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah, it is. It is. Do you have any favorite gun ranges around the city? Or the places? Range that I host my classes at primarily is Quick Shot in Decatur. Okay. And are there any other places that you have classes or anywhere else that you do things? Yes. So outdoors, there's ATL Gun Club in Villa Rica. There's South River Gun Club in Covington. And there's, I think, those are my top 3. Is there a women's shooting group here? There's a couple. Yeah? Yeah, there's a couple gun clubs. Yep. Do you have any that you would recommend or that you know of offhand? You should start one. Well, yeah. It's giving me homework. Yeah, you should start one. Yeah. There's plenty of them, though. Okay, there are? Yeah, there are. Yeah. Are they Black owned or are they mixed? Or? Do you mean by start a gun club, like start a book club, folks just go to the range together, or start a gun club where we actually have a space that we own? Is that which one? No, I meant like we meet the 3rd Wednesday of each month and we come and shoot and learn something. Yeah. Like whether it's concealed, whether it's drawing and walking, whether it's precision, like whatever it is that you're going to learn. Yes, there's plenty of gun clubs. I personally love it. But a lot of time, I have not joined a gun club simply because it usually conflicts with when I actually teach with clients. Got it. So, and usually those gun clubs are owned by folks who might be also instructors, so it could seem like you're kind of stepping on toes. Yeah, so. That makes sense. I keep it cute. But I will keep that in mind. Somebody asked me recently for a book club and a gun club. And I was just like, okay. Noted. Noted. All right. Finish this sentence. Black women with guns are not dangerous. We are liberated. Ooh, that was good. All right. I'm going to do a rapid fire real quick. Okay. Are you ready? I'm ready. First thing that comes to mind. You don't have to overthink it. But if you do like it, we can talk about it. Okay. Okay. What's one unpopular opinion you have about personal safety?
unpopular opinion?
Like, it might not just be what everybody says. It might be against the grain. Shake the table.
Everybody shouldn't own a gun, but everybody should know how to use it.
I like that. What's one thing people judge you for that you're completely unbothered by now?
Oh. My presence.
That's a good one. What's one thing you did to unlearn, or what did you have to unlearn to become the woman who you are today?
People pleasing.
You're on it. What's one thing you're no longer shrinking for?
Everybody.
Do you think women are afraid of their power or the responsibility that comes with it?
The power.
Safety or sovereignty, which comes first?
Sovereignty.
One word that describes you today.
I wanted to say at peace, but that's not a word.
Peaceful, maybe?
Peaceful, sometimes.
Unbothered.
Unbothered. Yeah.
Most overrated take about guns.
Overrated?
I would say people shooting like this.
Yeah. Or
not realistic.
AI guns. I don't know.
Yeah. What's your most...
Shootable characters. Shootable characters are overrated. People want to be in games so bad, but don't realize they get shot by strangers for a check. I do not want to be created to be shot at.
That's why Meg Thee Stallion said that she didn't agree to do the game.
She shouldn't. That's insulting, especially with her background.
They didn't think that through.
No, they did not.
Concealed carry or home defense?
Or.
So what are you saying?
Both.
And then if you had to pick?
Home defense, because it can be interchangeable depending on what you're picking up.
Okay, I love a loophole. What gun myth would you kill forever?
Gunman?
Gun myth. Like something that you hear that's not true. I think of guns kill people.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
But you can't steal that. You gotta
okay, sorry. I'd say the myth is that there is such thing as a girl gun.
That there is no such thing as a girl gun.
There is a such thing as a girl gun. That's a myth.
Okay.
That there are girl guns. All guns are for girls. Yeah.
Okay. And what's your main pick for your female gun?
There are no female guns.
Or what would you recommend that's easier to shoot? Because isn't that the thing?
No.
So what is it? So that's a myth then?
Yes, that's a myth. The firearms are made to be smaller for humans that have smaller hands, but don't consider the fact that there are small explosions happening in our hands, and the smaller the frame of the firearm, the more that impact, that recoil you feel as a individual. And usually you need a larger firearm so that you're not dealing with recoil that is unmanageable. So oftentimes women are sold firearms that they can't manage because of those little explosions that recoil is uncomfortable.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What do you have? What's coming up? What's going on? What's the next steps?
So the Gundies is January 19th in Vegas. So voting is happening now every day until the 15th.
Okay.
So I will be there. I will be at SHOT Show. I'm turning 30.
Okay.
Yeah. So
happy birthday.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In advance. Yes. Thank you. And next year, I am putting a major focus on my 30-day program, which is the Range Doula program. And it allows me to work one-on-one with anyone who enrolls for anything that they may need. So it starts off with a range bag with everything that they would need for their average lifestyle. And it's pertained to the firearms that they're bringing, the platform that they're bringing in for the program. They go to the range as many times as they would like to, but a minimum of 4 times, just to ensure that the lessons are properly ingrained. They get access to an online classroom.
This sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And you're opening the doors for this when?
It actually opened on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
And the program starts in February.
Okay, that's super exciting. Are you limiting the seats or anything like that?
Yeah,
How many?
I have 4 out of 5 left.
Oh, okay.
So I work with 5 women
like
a year. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's really cool. It helps me to develop a closer relationship with my clients versus them coming to a one-off class and just constantly messaging me. It's more so an ongoing experience where we can go over malfunctions, we can go over cleaning. It's not just them doing a la carte different services. It's whatever we can come to mind with within 30 days, we'll do it.
Okay. I love that. And then is there anything else that you would like to share with women or any gun owners or any advice, any tips, anything?
You can always come to Gail's Futuristic Fire for all your gun safety needs. And of course, you can reach me at futuristicfire.com.
Amber, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the information and you sharing everything in your voice and your commitment to women and just helping people become more responsible, safer, and just feel more comfortable with owning firearms, especially in a time when society is trying to convince us that you don't need to protect yourself. I think it's great that as women, we have this option and this ability. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you guys so much for watching. This is The Bridge Views. I'm Ashley and that was Amber. All of her links will be below. Please check them out. If you're interested, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, bye guys.